Have you ever felt like there's a cloud following you wherever you go? A quiet shadow that drifts above your head unseen by others, but always there. You smile, you laugh, you do what you must, but deep down, there's a heaviness you just can't explain. It doesn't shout, it doesn't hurt like a wound. It just lingers, a silent weight pressing on your chest. You tell yourself, it's fine, I'll get over it, but it never quite goes away. This is the story of a boy who carried such a cloud, and how one day he learned something that changed the weight of his world. In a small town where the wind sang through the trees and the sky was always wide and blue, there lived a quiet boy. On the surface, he wasn't different from the other children. He went to school, played in the fields, and walked the same familiar paths home, but unlike them, he carried a cloud. It was a gray one, invisible to everyone else, but heavy enough to slow his every step. He didn't know when it first appeared. Maybe it was after a disappointment, maybe after losing someone, or maybe, for no reason at all. It started as just a faint sadness, a whisper of unease, and over time, it grew heavier, darker, and thicker. He learned to smile when he was supposed to. He laughed when people expected him to. But deep inside, it was as if sunlight never fully reached his heart. He'd watch the other children run freely, laughing without reason, and he'd wish he could feel what they felt. But his cloud followed him everywhere through the classroom, down the road, and even into his dreams. One afternoon, as the boy sat alone under a tree, his head low, watching the dust swirl at his feet, an old man walked by. His hair was as white as snow, and his eyes were gentle and kind. "You look burdened," the old man said softly. "Do you know why?" The boy just shook his head. "I don't know, I just feel heavy, like there's something sitting on my chest all the time." The old man didn't interrupt. He didn't tell him to cheer up or to think positive. He simply sat beside him, silent, patient, and he listened. And as the boy began to speak, haltingly at first, then with more courage, something changed. The cloud above him didn't disappear, but it shifted. For the first time in months, it felt lighter that night. Lying in his bed, the boy thought about what had happened. Maybe the cloud wasn't meant to be carried alone. Maybe, just maybe, sharing it could make it smaller. The very next evening, he decided to try something new. At the dinner table, he spoke just a little about how sad he had been feeling lately. His parents listened quietly, without judgment or interruption. They didn't try to fix it. They simply heard him, and that night he slept better than he had in months. The heaviness didn't vanish, but it felt softer, easier to breathe through. Encouraged by this small victory, he spoke again, this time to a friend at school, then to a kind teacher, and then to his sister. He found that each time he spoke, the cloud above him shrank a little more. He realized something powerful. Sharing his feelings didn't make him weak, it made him strong. It wasn't the act of crying that broke him, it was pretending that he didn't need to. Time passed, and the boy grew. He still had days when the cloud returned, because clouds always do, but he no longer feared it. He knew what to do now. Talk, share, reach out. He began noticing others who carried clouds of their own, classmates who seemed cheerful but hid a quiet sadness, neighbors who smiled but sighed when no one was looking, and whenever he could, he would sit beside them, just as the old man had once done for him. He didn't give advice or try to fix their pain. He simply listened, and each time he did, he noticed that their cloud's ender zone grew a little lighter. He discovered something extraordinary. Helping others, he began to heal him too. Because when you lift someone else's heart, your own heart rises with it. The boy learned that sadness is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of being human. That no one walks through life without a shadow, and that no matter how heavy your heart feels, there is always a way to lighten it by sharing it. Pain grows heavier in silence. But when it's spoken aloud, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes a bridge between two souls. Over time, the boy realized the truth that would stay with him forever. The cloud may return, yes, but it no longer controls the sky, because now he knows where the light is, and he knows how to let it in. My friend, if you feel like a cloud follows you wherever you go, talk, speak, share. You don't have to carry that weight all by yourself. Find someone you trust, a friend, a parent, a teacher, a professional, anyone who will truly listen. You'll be amazed at how much lighter the heart becomes when the pain inside it is finally spoken, because even the darkest clouds begin to fade when you let the light in. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who's been quiet for too long. And if you carry a cloud yourself, remember you, Dan T, have to fight the storm alone. Just open the window and let someone in. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more stories like this, stories that remind us that even the heaviest hearts can learn to fly again.